if you want my body, and you think I'm sexy, come on, sugar. Tell me so if you really need me. Just reach out and touch me. Come on, honey. Tell.
How you doing, guys? I was talking to a friend of mine several days ago. She was telling me how one of Jehovah's Witnesses has been pestering her at her house more than once. Now, she knew I was a JW, but she does have a total misconception of Jehovah's Witnesses. She finally told me she's just getting fed up with these visits. And she says, I'm just going to tell them I'm an atheist. And I'm like, in all honesty, that's probably the worst thing you can tell him. And she's like, why? And I says, because you're giving him firepower to continue coming back. The best thing to tell him is tell him you're an apostate. She looked at me totally confused. Now, the general public, that's not a common word that the average Joe uses. I'm sure people have heard it before, but they've never thought about what it actually means. And it's totally different from what Jehovah's Witnesses thinks it means. So she asked me, what is that? And I told her, it's probably the worst thing you can be if you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses. They view that as the most unforgivable sin on the books. She was totally unaware of that. As we're talking, come to find out that this dude was not stopping by in an official capacity. He was stopping by on his own. Apparently he lives in her neighborhood, and he's been trying to take her out. I told her, I says, wow, that's something that one of Jehovah's Witnesses is not supposed to do. It's common, but they're not supposed to do it anyways. So I says, okay, next time he stops by, what you do is you record it, and we'll upload it on my channel. I had her describe him, and she told me his name. Didn't sound familiar, so he's probably somebody new since I've left. But this was a misconception with a lot of people that were not Jehovah's Witnesses. And they don't realize, I've had a lot of people that I know tell me things they've done to chase JWs off. And we've all heard the same things. People answer the door naked, or come out wearing a t-shirt that says 666, or the popular, I have my own religion, or I'm an atheist. What the general public doesn't realize is that JWs are used to that. Remember the old reasoning book? They've been trained to respond to virtually any kind of comeback. And it pretty much doesn't work. Like I told her, the best thing you can do is tell him you're an apostate. Chances are he will never come back. The same thing applies to Jehovah's Witnesses. There's a lot they don't know about the outside world. I like to have conversation. Not just with anybody, somebody with some intellect. And when I first started going to the Kingdom Hall, I would talk about a variety of subjects. And like I said, I have a lot of knowledge on certain subjects that they apparently don't. And I noticed the same trend. Without knowing what they were talking about, they would start shooting what I said down. One elder was notorious for this. And the subject had come up. It wasn't the first time this particular subject had come up. But it was a subject I knew very well because I was actually involved in this particular subject. And he started shooting it down. His facts were wrong. And I finally asked him, I says, why are you doing that? You're shooting something down. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. And he put it point blank, well, you're now one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's a thing of the past. I'm just trying to get you to realize how useless it was. And I'm like, well, useless from your point of view. But to shoot something down, don't you think you'd have to know something about the subject first? What you're telling me isn't going to work because you're obviously giving me false facts. And you kind of nipped it in the bud right there. And as time went on, I realized that average conversation doesn't work at the Kingdom Hall with Jehovah's Witnesses because for the most part, they don't know a whole lot. I also realized something while I was in that for the most part, they're on a script. If you don't give them any feedback, something to work with, they don't know what to say. Most people fire back, whether it be at the door or when they're out in the ministry. Most people fire at them. Not so much today because they've come store mannequins with their ministry carts. But in the days of old, there wasn't too much you couldn't say that they wouldn't have a comeback for. And like I said, people have this misconception. No matter what you've thought about doing, it's probably been done. But if you don't give them anything to feed on, they really don't know what to say. I uploaded a video about 2 months ago about the two witnesses who stopped by to talk to me. While they were approaching me, I was debating, should I have fun with this and ask them about the child abuse cover-up? Or should I not say anything? As it was, I really didn't want them there, so I opted not to give them any feedback. For anybody who saw the video, if you've noticed, they kept repeating themselves over and over and over. And Rosalie's comment, which many of you pointed out, well, at least somebody's thinking about you, and she kind of laughed it off as a joke. Now, what she wanted me to do was start thinking that nobody outside the organization was thinking about me. I caught that from the get-go, realized that, yeah, she doesn't have a clue what she's talking about. I've been out for almost 4 years now, and at least somebody's thinking about you? Yeah, 3 years, and now you're stopping by the house. It was obvious they had an agenda. Well, I offered not to give them any feedback, and they were gone within 2 minutes. They didn't stay very long, and that's probably the best thing you can do if you don't want to be bothered by Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses don't realize that their comebacks are ineffective against people that were in the organization. We've all watched Darrow, the Fat Hamster's videos, and his constant berating attacks. What he doesn't realize is we were all Jehovah's Witnesses at one time. So it's ineffective. If you notice, he does the same repeat thing over and over and over, the same insults. And for the trolls that used to attack in the comments section, I've noticed not so many out these days. Their attacks are very robotic. And when they do come back, they talk in circles. That would work against somebody that was not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's not going to work on somebody who was. We know how robotic it was. Now, if you've watched Darrow's videos, he thinks for some reason he's exposing the so-called apostates and punking them out. No, he is not. He's actually running out of material. He's not proving anything. The thing is, from an outsider's point of view, when you've been inside, we have more facts than they do. It's very easy to shoot one of Jehovah's Witnesses down. When they're out of ammo, what do? They stop the insults. They stop the attacks. If you notice now, they're calling the police a lot more often at the cots. If you so much as walk up to them, they're on their cell phones to the police now because they've got nothing. Like I said, we've all spent time in the organization. We've all heard the robotic comebacks, and it's so robotic, it's disgusting. I had the advantage of coming in from the outside, so in all honesty, looking back, I was never really indoctrinated, so my last few months in, I was getting this, trying to reel me back in. They wanted me to come to the hall and talk to them, when at that point, there was no reason to. I was leaving. There's no point to waste my time and waste yours coming to the hall when I knew what was coming. We've all heard the same thing, and I heard it as well, was, well, where will you go? I mean, I'm going home after this. I mean, that's the only thing I could think to say. But their canned robotic responses will work for somebody who's not too familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses, but once you're inside, you know what's coming, and you realize it's pointless to even speak. I opted never to go back to the Kingdom Hall, and it was like I had somebody call me up one time and said, well, when are we going to go talk to the elders? And my response was, we're not. At that point, there was no point to do so. So, like I said, most of my friends know I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've told me all the comebacks. I had one friend that answered the door stark naked, and that was not the first time I've heard that. And as far as I know, they've never gone back to his house. But actually, his girlfriend was also one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so she was probably more apt to deal with him than he was. But I noticed that from what I'm hearing about Darrow now, he's attacking people now that have not even commented to him in many, many, many months. I guess he's realizing his views are dwindling and he's lost some firepower. So what he's trying to do is get more interest, draw more people in so his views go up. But we've all seen what he's got. He's got nothing else, like most of Jehovah's Witnesses. But this friend of mine who's been pestering, who this JW has been pestering, I really would love to know who this is. I says, please record it, because I will upload it on my channel. Anyways, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will see you later in the week. You guys have a good day.